Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, still down here in my temporary headquarters as I continue to sort through my collection and I continue to clean out my office and work on figuring everything out with my collection. And today, I've got another long box, short box really, that I'm going through to sort through, and this is my miscellaneous Archie box. Now, as you know, Archie is a large part of my collection. And in terms of the mustiness that's been bothering me, the only thing that's close to as musty as my romance collection is the Archie collection. So it's not as bad because a lot of my Archie books are newer books, 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. They're not that bad, they're fine. But I do have a lot of older Archie books, some of which are musty, some of which aren't bagged, and some of which are just random. So over the years, I've bought lots of lots. So I'll go on eBay, I'll get a lot of like 60 Archie issues or 50 or 70 or whatever. I'll take out the ones that I want, and then I usually turn around and get rid of the rest. Now, this is a box that has some things you've already seen because I've featured a couple things in other videos, but honestly, I'm not entirely sure what's in here because it's not the stuff that's part of my regular collection, unless something has accidentally been put in here. In terms of Archie, I collect the title Archie, I collect Archie at Riverdale High, I collect Life with Archie, I collect Jughead. That's my Archie collection. But in these lots, I'll also get other cool books from other titles. I have a number of issues of Betty and Veronica from the second series that I had collected as it was coming out right at the tail end. I showed you some of that a little while ago in the video about Archie variants. But I've also picked up a number of other things that I just thought were cool. And now it's time to go through these and decide if they're cool enough to actually keep, because I really need to, again, get rid of some more stuff, and particularly the older stuff, the mustier stuff. And I know there's some in here. So we're going to sort through this and we're going to figure out what we're keeping, what we're getting rid of. And honestly, other than the Betty and Veronica stuff, I don't really know what's in this box. So let's jump in. And those Betty and Veronica variants are right in the front because that's the last thing I pulled out of this box was for that video. I'll just show them to you again real quick. There's 271 of the Marilyn Monroe variant by Jeff Schultz. Here's 276 Bikini variant by Andrew Peepoy. These books are like $10 to $15. Here is the Betty and Veronica We Can Do It cover. I have my copy signed by both Jeff Schultz and Dan Parent, although a lot of times, for some reason, I have a lot of books signed by Dan Parent where the signature's smudged for whatever reason. That's issue 269. Here's 267. Now, this is the Mermaid variant cover by Fiona Staples. This is about a $50 book. One thing that's interesting that I didn't mention in the previous one is the regular version also features Betty and Veronica as mermaids drawn by Dan Parent, and that's also a valuable book. So while the variant by Fiona Staples is slightly more valuable, the Dan Parent cover is also about a $40 book. So no matter which version of 267 you can find, they're both worth picking up because they're both valuable. In this case, it's a cool cover, but I don't collect Betty and Veronica. I could probably find something else for $50 that I want more. So it's basically not worth the effort to scan and put up on eBay and then ship out after selling fees these books that are in the $10 to $15 range. So for me, I'm going to keep them. They're cool enough to stay in my collection. But if they become valuable, I'll probably sell them off. The Fiona Staples variant, that's one that I'm going to be selling. Okay, we got Archie versus Predator #1. You can see that I paid $12 for this. This is, unlike most Archie variants, which were available in equal amounts depending on what stores decided to order, since this actually came out from Dark Horse, they put it out as a retailer's, just completely blanked on the word, but incentive cover. So this, I don't know if this is a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 25, but it's got a Francavilla cover. That's why it cost me $12. I'm a big fan of Francavilla. Don't know, I think this is maybe a $20 or $30 book. I'll have to think about this. Obviously, since I have $12 in it, it's not one that I'm I'll need to get more than that back in order to make it worth my time to selling. All right, well, here's some cool old stuff that might be a little musty, but I'm definitely keeping anyway. I love this era of Pep Comics. It's one of my favorite cover designs. There's nothing more American than this, and more 50s than this cover design for Pep Comics. I only have a few of these, but here's issue 98. At one point I was collecting Pep Comics, and I realized that I just didn't like this series. I had over 200 issues, and as I was reading them, I was just like, these are kind of crappy compared to the other Archie series. But these I'm a fan of. Here is issue 101, which has a November 20, 1953 date stamp on it. So cool. Here's 107. So this is the next era, where they have this is a brief era where they have the panel gags on the cover. They also have a box with the names of the stories in it. This only lasted a few issues. Here's another one. It's 109. It's sort of a transitional stage. Here's 120, which is a very early post-code book. This I'm going to get rid of. Even though this is a great era and I love the ones with the strip here, this is heavily water damaged. And if I took it out of the bag, I think it would give me problems. So this one's going to be going away. So I've got 3 piles here. Ones I'm keeping, ones I'm probably going to sell. Like individual issues that are worth money, and then things like that Pep 120. I don't know how much I could get for that. It's an early enough issue where even in this condition it might be worth a little, but some of these other ones I'm just going to be putting in big lots of Archie stuff. 146, Harry, Lucy, Veronica cover. When I got rid of my Pep collection, I kept the good stuff. Here's 153. Now, this is an Alien cover, as is 157. So these are of more interest than a lot of the issues around here. But both of these have heavy tanning. And so I am going to sell these. Okay, so here's something much more modern, and it is Jughead's Time Police numbers 1 through 5. So this was a revival series. It's not the original Jughead's Time Police. So here's issue 1, 2, 3. It's a cool cover. And this is a story where he ends up meeting up with a bunch of other versions of Jughead, including Old Man Jughead, who is a parody of Cable. And so this cover is a homage to Cable's first appearance in New Mutants 87, which, by the way, itself is a swipe of the cover of Avengers 145. So it's an homage to a swipe. These I'm obviously keeping. These are part of my Jughead collection that they were just put in the wrong box. So those are keepers. Okay, here we have issue 5 of Archie 1941. So I don't know where the others are, but I'm going to set this aside in case the rest of them are in here. And here's Archie meets Batman 66. So this is a really fun story. This has a Mike Allred cover. Issue 2. I'm not sure I'm going to keep these, to be honest. They're fun, and I bought them because they're fun to read, and I want to support Archie. But these, I think I might have gotten the entertainment out of them that I'm going to get. Here is Sabrina 103. Now, I already have at least one other copy of this, but I'm going to keep it because I just have in my head that someday this 4-issue arc is going to catch on with somebody. Laugh 191. So this was a 12-cent book. There's a few of these superhero / pop art covers that they did all at the same time at Archie. This is a cool one. But I think I might get rid of it. Got to make the tough calls here. Okay, Betty and Me 83. I don't generally collect the Betty series. However, there was this brief period where they were doing this over-the-top primetime soap opera parody of this show Mary Hartman, and it's called Betty Cooper. And it ran for several issues, and it's just super over-the-top melodrama. And satire, and it's really great. So I'm collecting just that storyline, and I have most of them, but not all of them yet. So that's a keeper. Archie's Family Album. I'm trying to put together a complete run of all the Spire Christian Archie comics, so that's a keeper as well. Kevin Keller. It's actually Veronica number 208. Veronica presents Kevin Keller number 2. But it's Veronica 208. These were hot when they came out, and they've cooled quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is move this out of my Archie collection and into my speculator box, where I keep all the stuff I pull out of dollar bins, hoping that it might become worth money. So we're going to put that in a different pile. Okay, here's the rest of the Archie Meets Batman. So I've got all 6 issues. They've all got cool covers by Mike Allred. Check out this cover for number 3. It's so fun. But again, I'm gonna sell those off. I'm just gonna put those in a lot. Okay, here's the rest of Archie 1941. Now this is a series that I wanted to be really good. It's by Mark Waid, and it basically puts the characters back in high school in 1941. And then World War II starts, and it's like a serious look at the characters. I had a pitch for Archie that I put together with a very similar premise. I was setting mine in 1945 because based on the ages of the characters, I think they would have been graduating high school at the end of the war, not at the beginning. Totally understand that he wanted to get them in the war. But I had a pitch where it was, what if the Archie characters had aged in real time and we follow them through the years? And I never, had a chance to give that pitch to anybody, and now it's kind of ruined. They later did another series called Archie 1955, which was separate from this, total separate timeline. But basically, Archie is a big musician, and so basically imagine what if Archie and the Archies were part of the birth of rock and roll in 1955. I didn't bother buying that one, honestly, because this one was a bit of a disappointment. So I'm putting this in my pile of stuff to get rid of. Laugh 91. This is a Harry Lucy cover that I picked up in a lot, I think, and decided to keep it because of the Harry Luciness of it all. So we're going to keep that one. Okay, we got a couple Archie annuals here. Archie Annual 16. Sam Schwartz on the cover here. Ooh, it's got a date stamp on the back. June 16, 1964. So that's cool. Now we have a couple really beat up giant size ones. Here's an Archie Annual number 21. Not in a bag. Clearly been water damaged. Really, really toasty. Even though this is a series that I collect, I'm getting rid of it. It's too low grade, and it's also, I don't care about it. So with that combination, it's gone. Same for this, World of Archie 177. Really bad condition. And stinky. Gone. See how easy this is? I'm finding the whole process liberating, but it's also so fun to find these books that I'd forgotten about. Pep Comics 614. This is a great story. It's actually Archie Giant Series 614. So after Pep was canceled, the series continued in this. And this Archie Giant Series was like a thing where they put out specials from all different titles, like on a quarterly basis. And so every once in a while they put out a new issue of Pep. This is one where the characters go to Archie Comics headquarters and meet their own creators. It's a really, really fun story. So that's definitely staying in the collection. Okay, here's some cool books that are low grade and probably musty, and I'm definitely keeping them anyway. Sam Hill, Private Eye #1. There's no credits on a lot of these, but it's widely assumed that the art's by Harry Lucy and the writing is probably by Harry Lucy as well. And this is Lucy doing a more serious crime stories. So here's issue 2. It covers this part of the cover. The bottom part is almost Atlas-esque, but the top is pure Archie in terms of the cover design. Here's issue 3. I think I have another one in here somewhere too, or somewhere. I think I have issue 7. These I got pretty cheap a few years ago, and when I've been looking recently, I'm finding that they're much more expensive now. So I wish I had completed that run when I could get these lower grade ones for $20 each, because now I'm just not finding it. But we're going to keep an eye out. Okay, here's some comics that I forgot I owned. It's the 1960s, I think it's 66 series of Mighty Crusaders. Here's issue 1. And here's issue 2. These smell musty. One thing that I am going to consider doing is the bags themselves may be musty at this point. It may help to get rid of some of the bags. So here's issue 4. Okay, I just paused that quickly and swapped those bags out. So now they're in fresh bags. Those bags were at least from the 80s, maybe from the late 70s. They were bad. So next up we have a couple issues of Blue Ribbon Comics from the early 80s Red Circle superhero revival. Here's number 3. It's got an Alan Weiss cover with inking by Rudy Nebrez. And it's the origin of Steel Sterling. And then issue 4 is Rudy Nebrez with a cool fly wraparound cover. Here's the front, and it wraps around to the back. So that's cool. So we must be we're obviously into the superhero section. A Jim Steranko cover. Not everyone probably knows that Steranko did anything for this early 80s superhero revival. But here's the Flying #1 with the Fly and Fly Girl by Jim Steranko. Steranko's not the only big creator that worked on these, though. Here's Black Hood by Alex Toth. You can see his signature there. Who is one of the best ever. Back cover by Gray Morrow, who frequently did work for Archie's non-Archie titles. Here's another copy of Black Hood #1. I'm sure I got one of these out of a dollar box, if not both of them. Most of these are from dollar boxes. But I'm sure I got one of these out of a dollar box just on the off chance that the recent Dark Circle revival caused upsurge interest. Here's the Black Hood #2 featuring the Fox, again Alex Toth. Interesting black frame cover. And #3, more Toth artwork. More Fox. Dean Haspiel and Mark Waid did a Fox series a few years ago where Haspiel was clearly inspired by Toth's art in this, and it's great. So here's the 80s Rich Buckler's Mighty Crusaders #1. Nice copy of a black cover. Quite nice. #2. Wraparound cover. I'm curious how many of these I have because I just found one in one of the other boxes that I was looking through. This is a cool one. I have Destroyed the Crusader, so it's from looking at him And then we have the same cover on the back, but from the other point of view. Not until you've destroyed me. So that's a cool. I like that. Number 4. With a Rudy Nebres back cover of the Crusaders. Some really good creators on this. Here's number 5. I think this might be as far as I have. I think the one I found earlier in a previous video was number 8, but I don't have the rest of the run. I went to 12 or 13, I think. Okay, here is the Red Circle revival from 5 or 6 years ago, the New Crusaders. This is a story I liked quite a bit. It starts off very dark. It's basically the Crusaders' arch enemy comes back 20 years later and kills all of them. But their children have all been given, superpowers or whatever. So their children basically take up the mantle. The only one who survives is the Shield. And so the Shield is basically their mentor who trains this next generation of these legacy characters. There was a second series on this planned and announced, and I think done, but I don't think they ever released it because they decided to do the Dark Circle revival instead, and they canned this one. So this ran 6 issues. I have this both in floppy and in trade format. Here's the last issue. Really like this story. Thought it had a lot of potential, but nope. Alright, here's Betty and Veronica Spectacular number 1. I don't need that. Getting rid of that. Some of those issues from this time period some of them have DiCarlo covers where they're in bikinis and they're worth something. This series ran for 80 issues or so, but still, even though it's the number 1, that has no value. Here is Betty and Veronica 95. This is part of a rare crossover that ran in Jughead, Archie, and Betty and Veronica. So this one I'm keeping because I need it for the story. Here are some more of the Betty and Veronica variant covers. Here's 270. I'm not sure I showed these last time because they're not worth anything. But they're still cool. Here's a Stephanie Buscema. This one is Alt Baltazar. Did I get that right? Yeah. Alt Baltazar. Here's a little Archie cover by Fernando Ruiz and Bob Smith. $275, they had like 9 or 10 different variants. I got this one because it's by Ramona Fraden, which I think is really cool. It's Archie dreaming of being a hero, which he is not. 277. Cool cover. But again, these are basically just cover prices. And 278. This was the last issue. And the one I have here is the 90s variant. They did a series of covers with them dancing, and they're dressed in styles from each decade to celebrate the different decades of the title. This, as you can see here, is the 625th issue of Betty and Veronica, and the last one. There's been a couple series since then that only lasted like 3 issues for the Adam Hughes version, and there's another one after that. Archie and Friends 45. Just a random comic that I kept. And I'm changing that right now. Archie and Friends number 2. Again, we're going to get rid of it. Making room. Here's Veronica 205. This is the second Kevin Keller. Anyway, it's got the Kevin Keller Returns. It's got a sexy Veronica on the cover. Mine's signed by Dan Parent. So I'm keeping that one. Here is Kevin Keller number 1. Again, signed by Dan Parent. All of the ones I had him sign that day, the marker is smudged. But this is a variant is a 70s variant. So again, I'm going to keep that one. Josie number 20. Just a random issue of Josie that I got out of a dollar bin. I'm going to change the bag. Yeah, it's musty. A little bit, it's not bad. Trying to decide whether I want to keep this one or not. I'm going to get rid of it. I shouldn't have bothered with the bag. All right, here's a really cool one. It's Josie. It's Archie and Friends 58, featuring Josie and the Pussycats. And it says, will the Pussycats survive the Nightmare Nursery? And this is a really cool one because this is a follow-up to a loose plot thread from way back in Life with Archie number 125. So it was like 25 years later. Maybe the best issue of Life with Archie of the whole run, where Betty gets possessed by a demonic teddy bear and tries to commit suicide. There's like this evil spirit living in this teddy bear. And at the end, they try and destroy the teddy bear by throwing it into the ocean. But the last panel is it's back in the house, just covered in like water, and it has this evil grin. And then you're like, oh my God, it's come back. And then nothing for 25 years, but then they follow it up here where Josie and the Pussycats end up in that same haunted house and they confront the teddy bear. This story is not nearly as good as the other one, but it's still cool that it exists, so I'm keeping that one. Here's a fun Big Moose one-shot, but I got my entertainment out of that when I read it, so that's gone. Here's another crusty, unbagged, everything's Archie giant that's going right in the get rid of pile. This is odd. It's Archie and Friends 105, but it feels very firm. There's some kind of insert in it, so I just want to see what that is. There's a Teen Titans cartoon insert in it. I'm guessing they're all like that. Archie and Friends is a series that I feel like I want to collect, but I don't really feel like collecting it enough to actually do it. Here's a cool one. It's Archie's Halloween Spectacular with a Schultz cover, where it's a 3 on the soda, but they're horror characters. So I'm going to keep that one. Okay, here's a little Archie. Now, you know how I dislike these. This was something that I was basically buying all the new Archie books, and this was among them. Again, it's Alt Baltazar, and it's really good. He's really good, and the stories are really good, but it doesn't really fit my collection, so again, out the door. Here's Life with Archie number 36. Now, the other issues in this series were magazine size, but the last issue, the last one, they made in comic book size so they could distribute it in different places. And so lots of different variants. This one I have signed by Paul Kupperberg, and I swear I also have it signed by the artist, Ramon Perez, but I'm having trouble finding a signature on it. But it's a really cool Life magazine variant, which I like quite a bit. And then the last issue, this is the variant I ended up with. Here's Betty and Veronica number 1. This is one of the Adam Hughes issues. But this is the Francavilla cover. So it's funny, I mean, most people obviously would collect the Adam Hughes covers, but I'm a Francavilla fan, so I got an Adam Hughes book, but with someone else doing the cover. But it doesn't really fit my collection anymore, so that's gone. So here's one that I knew was in here and is going to be a tricky call, but I think I'm going to get rid of it because it's so bad. It's That Wilkin Boy #1. I got this in a dollar bin. It's the first appearance of Bingo Wilkin and all the characters from this series. And so it's an issue that I kind of want, but it's just too beat up, so I'm going to get rid of it. These, on the other hand, are also kind of musty, but I'm going to keep them anyway because they're the French editions. Here's Jughead, and here's an issue of Archie. It's just cool to have the French editions, so I'm gonna bag those up and I'm gonna keep those. I'm already second guessing myself. I was able to fit both of them in the same bag, but they're so musty. But they're really cool, but if I can't open them to read them because I'm afraid of the mustiness, what's the point of owning them? So I'm going to reluctantly get rid of those. All right. Archie Meets the Ramones, another modern book that's really cool. Time travel story. I'm going to get rid of that one. Really cool Francovilla variant for Josie and the Pussycats #1. But again, I'm winnowing things down. Here's the rest of the Archie versus Predator series. All right, so this is tricky because I don't want to read the series. I think what I'm going to do is, here's the variant that I have for #2. The variant I have for #3 I want to keep, and #4 I think. So here's my #3. It's Giselle Legacy, whose art I love, and it's a great, hilarious take on the 3 on a soda cover. So that's an absolute keeper. And then issue 4 is one of these Andrew Peepoy sexy covers, and it's Betty and Veronica wielding swords with bikinis drenched in blood as they're fighting Predator to the death, which does actually happen in the comic. So I'm going to keep that one too. But I'm going to get rid of Archie's Ham Radio Adventure. There's some freebie books here. Archie and his pals in the Peer Helping Program. No. This is a cool Archie. They have a lot of issues where he travels. Here's one where he travels to Expo 86 in Vancouver. And Archie does travel to Canada a lot because the series is very popular in Canada. Archie's Love Scene, which I think on my checklist I don't have marked that I own it, so I'm going to have to change that. But again, that's a definite keeper. Dilton's Strange Science. This is a series I'm putting together. They had a whole line of books around this time. This is 89. 87, 88, 89, up into 91 even. They were putting out lots and lots of new titles to try and refresh the line. They canceled most of their long-running titles like Jughead and Betty and Me and Betty and Veronica, and they relaunched them all, and then they put out a bunch of new things like Hot Dog and Dilton's Strange Science, and most of the new series just failed completely, but I'm trying to put that one together. It's kind of cool. Here's Archie versus Sharknado with another Francovilla cover. That one I'm getting rid of, but this one I'm keeping because it's so strange. It is, although it looks water damaged, so let me smell it. It's the 1990 adaptation of the made-for-TV movie Riverdale and Back Again, where it's at their 10th high school reunion, and they come back as adults. They did this movie that was really bad. The cover is by John Byrne. Let me check and see how this smells. Yeah, even though it's from 1990, it is musty, so I'm going to get rid of it. But the pencils in here are by Gene Colan, and then when they have the flashbacks within the story, the flashbacks like this are drawn by Stan Goldberg. It's a really cool book, but yeah, this copy is pretty bad. So I'm gonna get rid of this, and I'll just get a nicer copy that's not musty. All right, now we're really testing my resolve, because the end of this box is a whole bunch of issues of Archie's Christmas. Now, I love Christmas stories. I love Christmas comics. A lot of these are really rough. I'm just going to eyeball them. Give them a little bit of a smell test. You can see me smelling these all right. And they eventually, this is one of the last ones. So all of these, I'm getting rid of. They're too musty. I have to say, smelling all of these comics has not been good for me. My chest feels fine, but I'm actually getting a headache. Like, I'm having like splitting headaches when I inhale this crap. So I'm going to go get rid of all of these immediately. So my methodology, what I'm doing is I'm photographing these, and then I'm immediately sealing them up in medium-sized flat rate priority boxes for the post office. Then I'm posting them on eBay, but that way they're sealed away, like inside the boxes, and they have a couple layers of protection from me getting the mustiness. And then hopefully I'm putting them in a different closet. They're not going to be in my office anymore, and then when I sell them, I'll be able to just grab the box that's already packed, slap a label on it, and out the door. So I'm doing a lot of the work of getting these ready to ship now, mainly as a protection for me. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching. I appreciate it. I found a lot of cool stuff. I made a lot of tough calls. I love the Christmas issues, but a lot of them are crappy. Most of them from the 70s. People weren't taking care of them, so they're smelly. I could tell some of the issue that I'm having here is there's been so many musty books here that have been packed tightly together in these boxes that some of the mustiness is on the bags, and it's hard to tell whether the mustiness is from the comic itself or it's just absorbed the mustiness from the comics that it's been sitting with. So this is going to be tricky for me. I don't have the resources or time to rebag everything, but I'm going to do it for ones that are clearly bad. And there's a lot of comics that I never got around to bagging, like these, and I'm going to bag all of them right now to give them some protection so they don't absorb the mustiness from the other books. So, all part of the process. Found some cool books I forgot I had, a couple that are worth some money that I can sell to get some things that I really want. So I think all in all productive. I hope you've enjoyed this look at my Archie's miscellaneous box, which now is much smaller than it was when we started 40 minutes ago. And let me know what you think down below. I'll see you next time.